Hi, good day. My name is Jax and welcome to Belucci Studios Tech Talk. In today's Tech Talk, we are going to be looking at this. The ASUS ZenWifi AX Mini. Okay, so before we have a look at what's in the box, let's talk a little bit about why I have gone for this particular router. The main thing that influenced my decision to get this particular router is that I wanted something that would fit into the lounge, that would just seamlessly sit there and wouldn't be an eyesore. Now, traditional routers that have all of those antennas sticking out, looking all black and mean and nasty, yeah, I didn't want that this time around. So I thought, you know what, I need something that looks like it just fits in there, just blends in with the rest of the decor in my living room. And this definitely fit the bill. There are a couple of other check boxes that this thing ticked 100%. So there are basically three other things. The first of which is that I wanted something that had Wi-Fi 6. Secondly, I wanted something that would allow me to be able to address all of the devices on my LAN. And then lastly, I wanted to get into a mesh Wi-Fi ecosystem. So let's look at that Wi-Fi 6 situation. So the way in which previous versions of Wi-Fi worked is that the router can only address or service one device at a time. Thus, if you have multiple devices that are connected to a router, it would take a while for the router to get through servicing all of those devices, and that might result in, you having not a great experience on on that particular router. With this bad boy, however, having Wi-Fi 6, what that allows the device to do is to be able to service all of the devices that are connected to it at the same time. The only real limitation, of course, being your internet, the speed of your internet connection. If everything is requesting more bandwidth than you have, then well, you're gonna hit that wait state again. Okay, so that was the one thing, Wi-Fi 6. The second thing is that I needed something that would address all of the devices on my network. In other words, something that would allow me to see all of the devices on my network. With the router that my ISP provided me, that router doesn't allow me to see everything. To see all of the devices on the network. Everything would be connected, but it would be very difficult, sometimes if not impossible, to be able to log onto a particular device and change settings. In my particular instance, I needed to be able to access my Cisco switch as well. And the way in which I prefer to do that, because I'm not a Cisco certified engineer, the way in which I prefer to do that is via the web browser. And doing that, I'm then able to update the firmware via the web browser and change settings and do everything that I need to do. So there are some routers I think that also aren't able to do that. I don't know which ones don't allow that, but for me, since I know that ASUS routers do allow that, I decided to just stick with what I know, because if it didn't do that one particular thing, that would really be a deal breaker. Then the other thing is the mesh Wi-Fi ecosystem. Now, traditionally, or before mesh Wi-Fi systems, what you would have is you would need, if you had a router and there were places in your house that had Wi-Fi dead spots, what would then happen is that in order to get Wi-Fi in those areas, you'd need a range extender. So with the range extender, when you are connected if you have your cell phone and that cell phone is connected to your main router, you enter your username and password. It's fine. You do that once and you never have to do that again. However, the minute you connect to the range extender, what would then happen is that you would have to enter your username and password again to connect to the range extender. And then when you are when the signal from your router becomes stronger than the signal from your range extender, you then need to do that again. And so you constantly need to enter your username and password, or at least that's what I'm told. I've never used the range extender, partially because they really can be cumbersome to install and to get right. And I've had a whole bunch of issues around them, so it's just something that I never really got into. I have had range extenders, but getting them to work was one part of the problem. And then when you did get them up, sometimes they would work, other times they wouldn't work. They were provided by my internet service provider, so that might be one of the reasons for me having all of those issues. So I decided that this time around, what I would like to do is I'd like to get into the mesh ecosystem, the mesh Wi-Fi ecosystem. So what is a mesh Wi-Fi? Mesh Wi-Fi basically means that you can have multiple routers connected to each other, or you can have a router and several nodes connected to each other, or you can have several routers and several nodes connected to each other in whatever configuration you want them to. But what happens is that all of those devices are seen as one network, which means that if you are close to a particular router, and as you move further away from it, when your device connects to another router or another node, you don't need to enter your details. It just switches to that device, connects to it, and then you carry on with your life. It's supposed to be a seamless affair. And as you then traverse the house, or as you go from router to node, or router to router, or router to router to node, you basically won't even be aware of that changeover. Yeah, so that's one of the benefits of the mesh Wi-Fi system, which is something that I really, really wanted. So those are some of the reasons for me getting this particular router. It has Wi-Fi 6. It allows me to access all of the devices on my network. It also has the mesh Wi-Fi. It also looks really pretty. It fits into my lounge without standing out like a sore thumb. Another thing that you need to be aware of. Okay, so if you are making use of ADSL, you would need a router that has a telephone line input, and then you would need to connect that router to this router in order to make use of this router, because this router does not have a telephone line input. If you are making use of a fiber connection, then your optical network terminal is what you will be plugging into this particular device. Yeah, so that's something that you need to be aware of. What they do recommend in the documentation is that if you do need to use this with another router, then you need to place that other router some distance away. So if it is an ADSL kind of situation, the best thing to do would be to get a router that does not have Wi-Fi capabilities. If you are making use of fiber to the home, you can use this as the only router on your network. And then of course, if you want to add nodes to it or other routers in the mesh system, you can do that as well. So it's quite easy to set up. Alright, so let's have a look at what's in the box. So I've already unboxed this thing more than 2 weeks ago, so I'd like to just take you through what all you get in the box. Okay, so first, all of the boring stuff. You have your user manual, which is quite thick. And the reason why it's so thick is because there's several languages in there. But yeah, it isn't quite a small print. So what I do is I don't really use this printed one that they've given me. I've downloaded the one from the ASUS website, and yeah, I use that instead because it's a whole lot easier to read. Then you get your warranty information in several languages and a quick setup guide. Okay, aside from that, you have your wall wart or your power adapter, your power cable. So you have this thing, and this comes with 2 different types of connectors. I guess if you If you have the American style connectors, then you could use this, and this just, it plugs in like that, and then you can unplug it. I don't use this one. I make use of the 2-pin connection. Oh yeah, the 2-pin adapter. So that is what would provide you with power to your router. And then you have your network cable. Nothing fancy about this. I take it this is probably maybe a Cat5 or Cat6 network cable. And then we have the main event. And the main event, this particular one that I bought just has the router, so there's no nodes with it. The house that I'm in, and if you have a look at the background here, you'll see that it looks different from all of my other videos, and that's because I have moved and I have moved into a smaller place. So yeah, this is all you need. This has really huge coverage of like 185 square meters. So over the past 2 weeks that I've been using this, yeah, we can use this anywhere inside the house as well as outside the house, and the signal is pretty good. Also, as I might have alluded to earlier on, this appears to be working a lot better than my previous Wi-Fi, previous router which made use of Wi-Fi 5. So that's 802.11.AC. So that router was nothing. Yeah, it's not as pretty as this, and also this is significantly faster and has offered all of my existing Wi-Fi devices that aren't Wi-Fi 6. It has offered a significant performance increase. So the way in which you can differentiate between the node and the router is that the router itself will have 2 RJ45 connectors, so 2 network ports, and then you have your power connector. So the one port is where you would plug if you're making use of, if this is going straight into your optical network terminal, then that's where you'd connect this to, and then this you can connect to as if you have a switch and you have other routers or other things that you would like to connect via your RJ45, your normal traditional network cable. Plug this into a switch. If you have the node, it will just have the one network cable, as I mentioned. So this is the main unit, and this is the only thing that I've got. So I plug my optical network terminal, plug that network cable into here, and that gives me my connection. Then I connect this to my switch, and then everything else in this particular office, this room, then they get the network connectivity from that Cisco switch. So yeah, that's what's in the box, and that's basically what it's about. In the future, I will do a couple of videos to show you how I set this up, as well as how to ensure that you don't have a situation where all of your devices are requiring more bandwidth than is available. So ASUS does offer a lot of features with their routers. The things that I have used, I found really handy for multiple things, and I will, in future videos, I will take you through some of how I've set it up, and as well as some of the features that I make use of quite frequently. Alright, that is all from me for now, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Please make sure that you do like and subscribe, like the video and subscribe to my channel. If you didn't like the video, leave a thumbs down, leave a message, tell me what I can improve on. If you have enjoyed the video, please do, leave me some words of encouragement, or, if there's something that maybe a question that you do have, leave that in the comments below, and I do check those things, and I do respond to comments, whether positive or negative. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.